Welcome back to Data Driven Recruiting. My name is Sophia Beck, and I'm joined by my co-host Tigran Sloyan. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good too.
Yeah. Well, so today we're going to talk about an interesting futuristic idea, the top 3 areas of recruiting automation.
Yeah, this is very interesting because there is a lot of talk about, is recruiting going to be fully automated or recruiters going to lose their jobs in the future? So I think it would be cool to kind of cover what might and should be automated and also touch on some of the things that probably shouldn't and won't be automated ever.
Yeah. And
Let's
I think
dive
it's
straight in.
very relevant because productivity improvement is important because now we are all working remotely, and being able to be productive in your own area is going to be really helpful. All right, so let's start with the number 3.
Yeah, so number 3 would be around scheduling. I think scheduling has been one of the kind of painful parts of recruiting for a while, especially when it comes to like on-site schedulings where you have to coordinate many different schedules and get things to align. I think so far most companies have been handling this with hiring a team of coordinators, but I don't think that's going to last for too long, mainly because scheduling software keeps getting better. There are several startups already tackling this area and working on making scheduling better. While right now it's like machine assisted scheduling, I think in the future is gradually going to move towards complete automated scheduling where a machine learning algorithm should be able to, like, one, figure out which time slot aligns best with the given interviewers, and two, do some basic interactions with the candidate and the interviewers to kind of reshuffle schedules and make things work. I think there's been enough progress made in this area over the last few years to safely predict that eventually we'll all move towards automation.
Right, because back and forth, like when is a good time? Does this work? That work? It's a very time-consuming manual job that can.
It's a very time-consuming manual job, and it's very sort of scripted. Like there's not much creativity, not much sort of human emotions involved. It's really like, does this work? No, yes, okay. Let's just kind of move it around.
Which is a great area for the automation.
Yeah. While it can kind of be messy, and that's why it hasn't been fully automated yet, you can see how eventually someone will figure out a flow that gets this into full automation mode.
Right. That could be useful for other parts of the work as well, just scheduling a meeting. For more than 2 people, it's just a hassle. So
and that's part of the reason why I think this will eventually get fully automated, is that outside of recruiting, there's a lot of attention to this as well. So that piece of software, that piece of technology will continue getting pushed forward, and there's enough force behind it to kind of eventually get it to a fully automated state.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, the number 2 area.
Number 2 is also an area where we've been seeing quite a bit of progress, and that's around like outreach and follow-ups. So outbound sourcing has always been a key kind of contributor to building a pipeline at the top of the funnel. And so far, reaching out to candidates has been most of a manual job, and some of the best sourcers always know that following up on your reach outs is the key to getting responses back. And for the longest time, that's been kind of a manual process. I mean, the company called Outreach was the first one to introduce automation in this area for sales. And now there are companies like Jam that are bringing that same idea to recruiting. And while, again, right now it's mostly sort of the automation assists the humans in doing this and doing it at scale, you can see how eventually, combined with the work that companies like Textio do in terms of producing some of the best sort of templated messages to candidates, you can imagine where in a world where you can specify what type of candidate you're talking to, and it can both produce the ideal template outreach based on what everybody else is using, and also do automated follow-ups to get you the top of the funnel interest you're looking for.
Right. And especially in this, use cases, you mentioned sales or recruiting, it's a large volume too. So, it's not that you don't want to follow up with people, but it's just like too many volume and everybody's on their own schedule. And now we're just kind of a set of reminder, which is like assisted automation. But yeah, fully being able to do that would be a game changer.
Yeah. And even if it kind of only boils it down to one person could do the job of 10, I still consider that almost full automation, because you've eliminated job of 9 others by essentially making the job super efficient, even though a human still needs to get involved to put some finishing touches.
Yeah. All right. And I guess the number one.
Yeah, number one is, I guess, surprise and no surprise, given what we do, but technical skill assessment, especially at the very top of the funnel, which essentially another way to look at this could be a resume review, because resume review is a very time-consuming and inefficient step of the recruiting process these days. Part of the reason that that's happening is that, there is not enough leverage to be able to assess candidates manually, right? So to conduct technical interviews or any sort of hard skills interviews at the top of the funnel.
It becomes very expensive to do it manually. Yeah.
So most organizations resort to basically looking at a resume as an initial filter or proxy for skills. But more and more, once we identify core skills that need to be assessed at the top of the funnel, we should be able to completely skip that process and have a complete automated view of who are the top candidates that you should be talking to out of your entire applicant or candidate pool at the very top of the funnel.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. And it also kind of creates an objectivity as well as the scalability and productivity too.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned at the beginning, what are some of things that will not likely to be automated or shouldn't be automated?
Yeah, I think one thing that's, again, for sure is not going to be automated. And I hear a lot of people saying, I think recruiting is going to be fully automated one day. I actually think recruiting and sales, and I always said those areas are very similar to each other. Recruiters and salespeople would be the last ones to get automated. I think doctors and lawyers are more likely to get fully automated before it gets to recruiters and salespeople, mainly because recruiting and sales requires a lot of human interaction. And I think it's incredibly difficult to automate the human interaction, right? Because what a great recruiter or what a great person does is they build relationships. Because while it's kind of easy to think that, humans buy or join companies for very irrational reasons, it's not actually true, right? Like, a very big portion of why humans make decisions buying or joining a company decisions are somewhat irrational, somewhat emotional, somewhat driven by relationships and trust and belief, which is incredibly hard to automate. I just cannot see a candidate joining a company while never having talked to a recruiter who can tell them about the company, can get them to understand the culture, can get them to really feel excited about joining the company. And this is kind of the true skill, get me interested in the company, recruit me into the company, right? It's not the manual resume reviews. It's not the manual scheduling. It's not the templated manual emails that you send out. It's getting candidates to be really psyched about working at that company.
And then, really give kind of a glance at what the company is about. And that's hard to, you can have a website describing our culture and company, but it's very different when you hear from someone who works there and observe that every day, right? So
and the way great salespeople get customers interested in buying a certain product is you first understand the customer. You have to understand the person who you're trying to recruit or sell to. What are they interested in? What do they want? What matters to them?
Really listening to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And computers are not very good at doing that, right?
Yeah.
Reading emotion, understanding interest, understanding belief, and presenting something in a way that can connect to the person is incredibly difficult to automate. And I really think that's the main job of a recruiter. So
yeah, the human touch. Yeah.
yeah. Long story short, while I think a lot of things will get automated in recruiting, the job of a recruiter will never fully get automated, or it would be the last thing before we hit like fully automated AI, and humans don't do anything else other than just
Sounds cool. Thank you so much for your time today. And thanks for joining us. For more tips and insights on data-driven recruiting, please visit ddr.codesignal.com.